Screenless. Hello and welcome to another Creative Cuppa. I hope your week is going well. Feel free to let me know what you're up to on the social media. I'd be happy to give you a little signal boost if you're doing something creative. Just include @ScreenlessPod in your post so it'll pop up in my timeline with a bit of luck. Have you ever seen a view and thought, wow, look at that view? That's exactly what I thought when I visited Gabrielle Ruffle's website. We've all done it. We've turned around, seen an amazing view and immediately reached for the phone to capture that moment. But more importantly, to capture that feeling. We humans like to be inspired, and it's wonderful when we can capture that inspiration somehow to visit at a later date. Today's guest has been capturing that inspiration through the mediums of oil and chalk, not together obviously, and it was really great to find out from Gabrielle about her process and what she's been up to. So, pop the kettle on and join us for our chat. Gabrielle Ruffle, Bristol-based artist, welcome to Creative Cuppa.
Hello, nice to meet you. On Zoom.
Yes, on Zoom, indeed. Strange times. So, Gabrielle, your focus is on landscape paintings from what I've seen. How did you settle on that kind of subject? Has it always been landscapes that have inspired you to paint?
No, it's not always been landscapes, because at college I was also really interested in life drawing and I attempted to do life painting. But then sort of seeing the landscape around Bristol as a student and taking snapshots, so there is a running theme, but hadn't really concentrated on landscapes until maybe 5 to 6, 7 years ago. And then I started to take more pictures, knowing that I would want to create a painting from that. So I've started to look more in the landscape to get inspiration, whereas before I might have taken some photos of landscapes on holiday and places I've visited just as a reminder. Now I'm kind of actively taking a photo to give me a starting point for a painting, and that's kind of spiraled more into that style of landscape.
So were you a big fan of taking those photos when you were on holiday? It's a natural thing, isn't it, when you see a view to want to capture it?
Yeah, yes, that's right. So I mean, and almost the worse the photo, the better the starting point painting for me, because my paintings are very dreamlike and abstract, and they're like a sense of the place rather than a direct copy. So I've started then to look at other snapshots which I've taken, which weren't necessarily the best. You know, even if they're blurred, it's a good starting point. If you're taking a photograph of a cityscape, for instance, and it's nighttime, you can see all the lights and they're slightly blurry. That I really like that.
Yeah, the Coronation Road painting, the first one on your website, is exactly that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And just it's a sea of all the lights on in the offices and everything. It's just a sea of colour.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
That's the view from my office window when I was pre-lockdown, when we worked in the office. That's the view from my office window. And people were starting to put all their lights on in the houses around dusk in the evening, but the light from the sky was still quite bright. So I really like that. It was I like to kind of play around with different weather conditions and different times of day, so you don't necessarily have to paint exactly what the view is telling you or what the photograph is telling you. So what's nice is when you have that effect where it's a sunny day but the sky is grey, so you know it's just about to rain, but it's sunny, and all the houses are lit up like really bright because the sun's shining on. It's almost like before a storm, where you get, and in Bristol all the houses are all different colours as well, so you've got this lovely view of all the houses in Bristol, all different colours with a really grey dramatic sky behind it, but you would think it was a really sunny summer's day. But so I kind of like that,
the contrast.
Yeah, just like the contrast. Yeah, not sticking to what you think you should paint, because that's what it should, like the sky should be blue and the houses should be a certain colour.
That's lovely. So what's it like to work with oils and chalk? Because you work with both of those, don't you? Not together, obviously. Although I don't know, might be a new medium there, but
yeah. Well, you could do, but it would sort of I think it would probably mess up the oil paint. Yeah, I only started recently getting into chalk drawings. So oil paints I've been using since college because they're much easier to use than acrylics. I think they're richer. The colours last. So you're painting in oils, and then suddenly you don't come back a day later and it's dried and it looks a different colour. It's exactly the same to me. They're very movable, so you can move the oil paint around the canvas a lot easier because they don't dry very quickly. White oil paint, for instance, takes a couple of weeks to dry properly. So you can still manipulate the painting days later, and I really like that. And they're just much nicer to use than other paints, I think. But yes, they take a long time to dry, and they you can't rush the oil paint. Whereas a chalk drawing, you could do that in a day. What I like to do is cover the entire paper with the chalk and then draw back into it. So that's nice if you're feeling a little bit impatient and you want to get your ideas down. And because I use a lot of chalk on one drawing, you could probably get through 2 or 3 sticks of chalk on one drawing. But it's really immediate, and unlike oil paints, it's immediate, and the colours are bright. Really satisfying to draw with.
Yeah. You must have a really good supplier of materials. I'm the same with batteries for my audio recorder. You have to have a supply.
Yes, exactly. And if you run out of that one particular colour, that's a pain. Yeah, I go to, there's a couple of good art shops in Bristol that I go to all the time. But you don't have to spend that much money because what I've realised is that with my oil paints, especially, and they are expensive, but if I tend to paint using the same colours, and you don't need to have the full range of colours if you're doing painting at all, because you can mix them. But you don't. I think a painting full of every single colour you've got can be a bit busy, look a bit crazy. So I've tended, not because I can't get the colours. It's just that's what I prefer. I prefer sort of like a limited colour palette. Then, when I didn't realise this, but when I was exhibiting my work and putting them all side by side, and because they were all in similar colours, they went together really nicely. So it's kind of, you don't have to spend a lot of money on every single different colour to get started.
You mentioned you've taken photos of places you've visited. I've noticed on website about London, New York, Manchester, Hong Kong, as well as Merseyside, Bristol. They all share a certain symmetry, certain kind of framing. Do you feel like you're chasing the perfect landscape? Yeah,
that's true. Yes. Well, my comfort zone is the sort of nighttime bright lights, big city skyline. And so if I see something like that, I will take a photo of that and try and paint from that. And it doesn't really matter that it's not glamorous. I mean, New York and Hong Kong are amazing, but equally where my mum and dad live, that it's like it's on the Mersey estuary. Not saying the Mersey isn't glamorous, but it's quite a sort of industrial estate and at night time it looks amazing. All the different towers full of lights, and because it's sort of reflected in the estuary, it looks amazing. So taking some photos of that, and the sky was kind of a purpley grey colour.
I'm looking at it right now. The Rock Savage.
Yeah, the Rock Savage. Yeah. So I've taken some more photos. That was one that I took. I took a snapshot of that. It was quite far away, so I had to use a bit of artistic license as I knew what it was like anyway, to kind of bring it to the foreground a little bit more. And then so I've got a few of those. I want to do some more of those. I've had some good feedback on that one.
It is a little bit like a photo in that it uses kind of rule of thirds, doesn't it? So you've got 2/3 water.
Oh, that's right,
But there's a lot going on in that water. There's a lot of reflection and colour bouncing back. Yeah, really nice. Really nice.
Oh, thank you.
So in terms of, I suppose, chasing the perfect landscape, I suppose they're all unique, aren't they? I suppose they're all perfect for themselves in a way.
Yeah, you're never going to get you can chop bits out. So I did a painting of London South Bank and on the Waterloo Bridge, and there's bits of that I've taken a photograph, and some of the bits shouldn't say this, but they're too hard to paint. So this might be a boat on the water that's like I don't feel ready to tackle that. So just sort of cut that bit out, but you can crop the photograph to suit what you want to paint. And I'd love to do some more of London actually, because that looked amazing. All times of the day that looked amazing. So I might have to kind of go back to that.
Yeah, and also, in photographs as well, there's a lot of storytelling, isn't there? So if you are painting and you don't feel that boat is meant to be there, the story that you're telling in your painting, then, that's what art is, isn't it?
yeah, that's true. And you can still see that it is the place, so you can still sense the place, that's the place, but you don't have to make life really difficult for yourself. And if there's a tree in the way of your nice composition, you don't have to paint that tree. You don't have to paint everything that's going on in the view. So I like that. Cropping the view and just focusing on one side of it is what I do quite a lot as well. And I like to play around with the horizon. So you might have, say, for instance, the Rock Savage painting. In front of that view was quite built up, quite a few houses, and then a hill. And so I sort of cropped the houses out and then just focused on what I wanted to paint and then brought that forward. So I think thinking there's no rules really on what you have to copy.
Quite right.
As well, like not having to paint the exact time of day. So you might like the sky in the evening and then paint the houses at a different time of day as well. So I really like playing around with that.
And if you do want an exact copy, you take a photo, because it's not a photo, it's an interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would do.
You have regular exhibitions for your work. What was it like the first time you displayed your paintings in that way? How did it feel?
It was nerve-wracking, but also really exciting. I think one of the first places I exhibited was in my local pub, which had artwork on the walls called the Victoria Park. And that's when I realised that my paintings sort of hung together quite nicely because they were all using the same colour palette. And that was really nice because it wasn't in an art gallery as such, where it's relatively quiet. It was in a busy pub, so more people were seeing it, and I had good feedback from the people that worked behind the bar and friends that went to the pub. So that was really nice. So I sort of continued to do exhibitions in places like that. So I've had an exhibition at the Boca Bar, which is near me, and the Tobacco Factory, which was amazing because the space there is really big and there's a lot of people coming through the door there, so you can see your work. But the first, I'd say, like art space was at Hamilton House, which is in Stokes Croft, and I don't think that they exhibit anymore, but that was the first kind of art space where I had a kind of launch party with, when I say party, it was a table with crisps and drink.
Gathering.
But that was really, really nice because you can wander around talking to people about your work, and that I wasn't able to do that obviously in the pub, but everyone was there to see your work, so that was nice. And it wasn't just friends and my mum and dad, it was people that were coming in from the bar next door, and members of the public were there as well, so that's good feedback. And I sold quite a bit there.
Oh, fantastic. It can be quite daunting though, can't it? Because when you're working, and I find this with music as well, you're kind of isolated, you're in your own head a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then suddenly to kind of vocalise what you're doing, it can be a little bit, it can take you by surprise sometimes, can't it?
Yes, it can, yeah. Yeah, because you haven't really thought about exactly what you're going to say about each piece. So
you need sound bites for these little things.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And it's hard if someone says that they really like your work, not to go, you kind of got to be cool. Like, thanks, it is good.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Nice. So where can people find your work online?
Yes, I have a website which Well, it's my Big Cartel shop website. So if you type into Google, I think it's Gabrielle Ruffle Big Cartel, you can type in and get to that there. But yeah, one of my New Year's resolutions from last year for this year was to build a website. So it's September now and it hasn't been built. So I've still got 3 months.
Indeed. Well, just make sure you forward this web address to your new website.
Yes.
So if people hear this and you've built it, then they can still get to it.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea. I will do that, yes.
Lovely. I'll put that in the show notes, the link, so people can go and see your work. But for now, Gabrielle, thank you ever so much for joining me for a cuppa.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been great. Thank you.
There's a point in that chat with Gabrielle where she talks about light and dark and the effect of a sunny day, but the sky is grey. I thought that was really interesting and perhaps a metaphor for life, everything in the mix, and each aspect of life not necessarily getting in the way but complementing each other. That's how I saw it anyway. Go and find Gabrielle's art via the links in the show notes. You will not regret it. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving Creative Cuppa a 5-star rating and some kind words. It's really, really helpful. You can find out how to do that at creativecuppa.uk. And of course, if you are enjoying Creative Cuppa, please tell a friend and help to spread the word. Until next time, have a great week.